Hello friends, welcome to another episode of the Urban Homesteading channel with Professor DIY and Mrs. DIY. So today we're going to build two organizational systems that are going to accommodate plastic containers, a big one like this for bigger items and a little one like this for smaller items, right? Now we use different constructions. Here are our two projects, and this uses a dovetailed sliding system. And again, you need to buy the important thing is you need to buy boxes that have that ledge, right? Because that's where they're right, regardless of the two systems. Right. You need boxes like this. So this one for the small items and this one for the larger items, very differently constructed. This just need 45 and straight cuts, right? And the rest of it is just gluing and fiddling with it. This requires more tools, right? Now, which one you like better, ladies? You have a preference?
I like the cedar one.
Okay.
It's really cool for very little items, and it can fit with any decor, any style. Very straightforward.
Okay. So in essence, we're going to create two boxes that can contain the plastic containers, right? And in order for the containers to slide in and out, we don't want them to be on top of each other, but we don't want you have to remove one to use the other, right?
Right.
Want it to be like a drawer style. And there are two ways to do that. If you have a router, you can router a channel on which your do you want to come this way actually? On which your box is going to rest, right? And you have to do two, one on each side. And now you don't have to have a very expensive router. This is a $20 router from Harbor Freight, which we have had for how long? At least 20 years. And for applications like that, it works beautifully, right? You don't need a super powerful router. So if you want to play with routing, this is a great router to buy. It's very inexpensive. And sometimes it's even $14 or $10 with a coupon at Harbor Freight. So this is a good deal. Now, if you don't have a router and you don't want to get a router, you can use little, those are square dowels. That's what they're called, right?
Okay.
And they're very inexpensive. You can find them in Michael's, or you can find them at the dollar store. You can find them at Amazon.
Craft stores, maybe. Yeah.
And the way this works is creating the lip by simply connecting it to your piece of wood, right?
So it makes a ledge.
Right. So then drawer will ride on the ledge, and this can be glued on. You can use brad nails. There are different ways to do it, but this will be the very basic tool build, right?
Right.
So we're going to show you both ways, and a couple of things. How you decide the depth of your outer bit, right? You need to use the actual what do we call this? The actual box, yeah. And you turn it this way because again, remember we're making. I don't know how visible that is.
So the depth that you set it at on the router is based on the lip size of your container, the lid.
Right? And the router size you choose is based on the width of your lid.
Right. Let's look at that for a second. So we have this container, and we had to choose a bit that was at least as thick or wide as this edge of the lid.
Right.
For us, that was a 3/8 inch, and we can see that over here on our handy dandy router bit box. So ours has labels on it for each bit that tell us and show us the actual contour that you're going to get. So we used our container lid to see that this was going to be a good fit for us. The next size up for us would have been a half, which would have really been, it would have been fine, but there would have been some extra space.
Right. Excellent. So now on with the build. So if you have watched our channel for some time, am I on?
You're on, babe.
You know that measuring is not our thing. It's not our stick, right? So how we're going to decide the dimensions of the wood, right? And we are going to use story stick. And we are going to put it next to our container. We already did that, by the way. And we made a mark so we know the height of the container. And then we added a little bit so we have space between our little containers, right?
Right.
So this is how high we want it. So having this dimension now, and the X tells us that this is side up. That's all that is, right? So we know now the dimension, one dimension, but we need the second dimension, and that is the depth of the box, right? And again, we got lucky on this, but it is the same process. We use a scrap, and we found a scrap that happened to be exactly what we wanted. We wanted it slightly bigger than the depth of the box,
Right. So it's a little bit bigger.
right?
Yep. Deeper.
So the next step is to go and cut the pieces we need.
A small router with a small edge to guide it is the ideal tool here. It is easy to control and it provides a very good cut. As you can see, our router here did not have any difficulty making the cut. Now we use the pre-existing cuts to align the router to continue our cuts for the pieces that we have not yet made the continuation of the cut. It is a good idea to use already what you have created to continue your cleaner cut so you can avoid any mistakes. As you can see here, now we've added the last piece that will become the middle piece, and we are routing the last third point on that side. Then we have to turn it over and do it all the same. The middle piece needs to have routed edges on both sides in order to drive and help hold two of the little drawer plastic boxes.
So we have created the channels in three pieces, and we need three pieces because we need the middle piece as well, right? We're making a box, so we need the two sides and the middle. So in order to keep them all at the same level without excessive calculations, we use some painter's tape to keep the pieces together. Now we're going to remove the last piece and turn it over because we need to do more in that side, right? So we're going to flip one piece and do the last few cuts, 3 more cuts, right?
The use of painter's tape here makes this process very easy. It keeps the pieces aligned, and also it allows us to drive our router through all three pieces without them moving away from each other, thus allowing us to make very straight lines which are necessary for the three drawers to move without any difficulty. If the lines are misaligned, you're going to have the drawers being tilted and it will not look really good. Again, here you see the rough cuts. We're going to have to use a little bit of sanding to clean them, but they are very straight cuts, and that is the important thing. A small router is the key, as a bigger router might be much harder to use in this very small piece. Whenever you work with aligning parts, you need to make sure that you keep everything very clean, as a little bit of dust can take things off alignments, and then you will try to figure out what did you do wrong. So spending a few seconds to clean your area, here just we're using a vacuum, or you can use some compressed air, will pay dividends with your parts aligning correctly and you not having to worry later.
So we have our 3 vertical pieces, and we are going to just take them apart now because we finished with the cutting process. And now we're going to continue the assembly. So we want the channels to be smooth as possible so they will not interfere with moving the drawers in and out. And a little bit of sanding, it does a very good job in taking care of that. Now Mrs. DIY is using one of the square dowels that happen to be the dimension we need to stand inside the channels. And one of the negatives in using a soft wood like cedar is that it is easier to splinter than a harder wood, right? But that's part of the unique rustic thing, because even if you make another one, it will not splinter the same way. So you're truly making a unique piece.
And so by using this square dowel, it helps keep your channels square and you're not getting roundovers or anything like that from the sanding process.
So we're doing both a dry fit and a fit to find the dimensions of the bottom and the top, right? So if you want to put that on the top again, we'll know if it's square, if that dimension is the same. And here is our story stick with the measure that we're going to take to our bandsaw and cut our piece. And sometimes the best tool for a job is actually to use a hand tool, right? You don't always need to use power tools for everything you do. So our Japanese saw will cut our little supports Well, Mrs. DIY will cut them, but using the Japanese saw, right? Okay, and we have now all the pieces we need. So here we are, we marked where we're going to put our railing, and we're going to use hot glue, and maybe we're going to use some pin nails, we don't know, but if you don't have pin nails, you really don't need pin nails. Hot glue is plenty, right?
If you notice, we have the angles of our miter exactly the same because they're going to be facing each other. And then this is our centerpiece, and we wanted to go ahead and mark where we're going to put the rails on this as well. And we're going to put them, kind of a little bit centered on each one.
Okay. So apply a little bit of hot glue, which is hot, by the way. Yeah, and then hold it in the correct position for a couple of seconds, and that's all there is. Align it, of course. And this is a rinse and repeat process, right? You need to do it for all the little ledges.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're done, you're going to have the support system for your shelving. So a trick when you want to do miter glue ups is to set a piece of tape on the other side of the miter in the visible corner, in essence,
And not drop it on the floor.
and don't drop it on the floor. And make sure they are aligned correctly, top to bottom and front to back. And then you're going to glue them and lift and create the box. That way the tape acts like a hinge and a clamp at the same time. Yeah, we're using normal hot glue.
Normal hot glue.
This is not hot
Normal wood glue.
Normal wood glue. How much you want in there?
So we put glue in all our joints, and now we're ready to start lifting it. And it is an interesting process here. And again, the blue tape acts like a hinge and a clamp, right? And now we're going to reinforce them with a little bit of brad nails. Now, if you do not have a gun, a brad nail gun, you just simply let the glue dry, right? Like Laura Kemp says, let glue dry. Look at this.
Yeah, it came together really well. And now that you've got it secured with the brad nails, we can take the tape off, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you can make a nice furniture with good quality like this. Doesn't have any voids,
Right.
and I like this. Do you guys like this? The miter looks very good.
And you can see we went straight in at a 90 degrees, so it went straight in there and did not blow out the corner at all.
Right.
You can see the rails in there.
Yep.
And they appear to be in the correct places, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And now we just got to put the middle part in.
Correct. So we've made a commitment telling you when we mess up, and we messed up. We did, right? We turned the box the wrong way. We used, in other words, we put our support the wrong side, right? We thought these were our sides, but actually this is our side. So the box actually goes like this. Did any of this make sense?
Now we have to remove these rails that we created, put them here on this side, and this side.
Right, because when it is like this, they don't fit. They will fit without anything else, but clearly we cannot
We
put.
don't have enough room for the middle. Right.
So
So these have to come off, which is great. Lucky we only used hot glue. And we'll also have to take them off the centerpiece. And then we're going to need to, since this will be the centerpiece here, we actually miscalculated how big a piece it needs to be. So we'll need to cut that off as well.
okay, and when we get to the point we thought we were, we'll get right back.
A putty knife or a 5-in-1 tool. They are both tools that are designed for painters and wall repair. However, they are wonderful tools to remove glue up when you have used hot glue. As you can see, it makes a very quick job of this process. And we did not do really any damage to the sides of the little cabinet, so we're very, very pleased of this outcome. Again, mistakes happen, and we're determined to show you when we mess up, so you do not think that anything has to be ever perfect.
And we will try to save the ones on the middle piece, right?
Right.
If we can, but it's not a big deal, as you can see. It's embarrassing we made that mistake, but
It's fixable.
yes. So these are the two organization projects for today, and we hope you enjoy the process. Granted, they were a little more complicated than I thought, especially this one. I thought it would be a very quick build. It wasn't. This one requires a little more trickery. It requires more machines, more equipment, right? But in any case, both are scalable. You can make this to hold big boxes and this to hold little boxes. I really, really like the miters on this. What do you guys think?
Yep. The table saw did a nice job with that.
And it gives me an idea for potentially building something and living. I like the look of this, right? It has that flow. I think it's called water edge or waterfall something. But I really like it more than I thought I would like it. I don't care about this that much, but the edges I really like, right? That is not a very pretty transition, but my God, the miters are just awesome, right? So what we learned out of this project? Never underestimate how long something will take you to build. I clearly did. I thought it would be a much faster project, right? Anything else for you ladies?
Make sure you've got enough boxes for the project you want to build.
Yeah, that is also true. And these boxes were not ideal, but they were the ones we had 4 of. There were some better boxes that I wanted to use, but I only had 3 of them. So, also you can use these same processes and build boxes, make like an apothecary system, right? You don't have to buy them, but those plastic boxes are pretty ubiquitous and very inexpensive. So our cost, the effective cost for us was $0. It is all scrap, right? And the containers you can buy either at restores or you can buy them in the dollar store. In fact, the dollar store made the ones that I really like, but I don't carry them anymore. So when you see here, it says $1.03.
Mm-hmm.
So I like those because this is a flat area. The ones we end up using have a corrugated area, which makes them stronger, but generates much more friction. You see, this has a very nice lip, and there is nothing to get stuck with, right? So, but again, I only have 3 of those, so it didn't work out. But they're fairly inexpensive. So the material, it can cost to anywhere, depending, of course, how many you're going to put. But you can buy them from $1 to $4 each, right? Like if you go to a Michael's or something, it will probably be around $4 for this size. Anyway, so it is not a very expensive product. It is really fun. I like that you can see, like here, you can see already I put some dowels. You can see the dowels, right? You know what is in there. Really a space saving because you do not have to remove one drawer to use the other. Because they slide in and out, they can be used the way they are, right? And you don't have to worry about it. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Urban Homesteading channel. And if you did, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, the other button twice will show us your displeasure. Please share, like, subscribe. Let us know, do you like episodes like this so we can make more for you. From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Elpida, let's build something together.